Well, hello everybody. It was a surprise for my daughter. We were given a rescheduling at work and I have the next 3 days off. It's her birthday today and I haven't been live because I wanted to keep that secret, because over the last several years, in fact, most of Sierra's life, May runs right into my shutdown periods and scheduling for my major works where I earn my money. And she's always given the short straw, so to speak. My other daughter is December. I'm always there for her. My son, I usually miss too, but he's in the same industry as me. He misses his own birthday now. But my little one, my sweet pea, I'm never there. So today's a surprise. She's at school. She's not on Facebook, so she's not going to see this, not going to spoil it. So I had to wait just in case she got looking at her older sister's social media. So I got a big birthday dinner for her planned. Take her to her favorite restaurant. She has no idea. It's going to be a glorious day. That's why I've been very quiet over the last few days, because I just found out Friday. But anyways, I see people are logging on. I want to do this video. It's on our epic corruption in Canada. It's not just one political party. It's in fact all political parties. And you can measure directly every politician's wealth according to their position, how wealthy they got. Way wealthier than they ever got with their wages and their earnings in politics. In fact, it's a corruption index. And how you calculate that is you look at how much we have suffered during the period of these politicians' rule. And of course, all of them have epic scale corruptions. And when I say epic, USA, for instance, is nowhere near the radical, massive, unbelievable corruption of Canada. It's problematic to a large scale, and Canadians don't want to see that. They don't. They get behind their political parties and say, it's going to change if only my party gets in. But every time, whether it's Liberal, CPC, NDP, largely hold reins provincially and federally, you see a few divergence over the years. You watch that epic scale corruption, and they're well versed in the crown, as they have many before them to fall back on. Are the Liberals the highest corruption index? Of course, because they've held the reins of power the most. They know how to steal the most. And I want to really break it down for you all. And this is an epic truth, an epic video to help all Canadians and First Peoples navigate it. You take inflation. You take your debt. How much debt was accumulated during a politician's reign? How much inflation the people suffered with? How was their cost of living affected? How was their debt, their services that they're charged, fees, taxation, and absolutely all, I guess taxation, I may have missed one there, but folks, when you measure those against their wealth accumulation during their time in office, against everything they voted through, all the deals they made, I can tell you all they have varying degrees of corruption indexes. And we can look at current politicians and how fast their wealth is growing, way beyond their salaries, meaning if you banked every dollar they ever made in politics, then you measure what's extra during their reign in politics, i.e. they're not supposed to be running companies, getting into civil societies, orgs, or any of it. They're not supposed to be doing that while they're in office. But they do. They make backdoor sweetheart deals, and magically you watch their wealth accumulate to epic proportions. Now, folks, this is a crime. In so many countries around the world, it is a crime. In fact, our two bordering neighbors, it's a major crime. Yeah, in Canada, not a crime. When did that crime, that was always a crime, disappear off the books of Canada? When were politicians able to run rampant and through absolute corruption? This is insider trading. This is absolutely fraud and many, many other indictable offenses that Joe Janes like us are absolutely held to account over, but yet your politicians are not. Not only can it be mentioned, and it is annually by CSIS, but it's quickly thrown to the side as, oh well, there's no jurisdiction, no judiciary that can deal with it. Not a one. Now, folks, I'm sorry to tell you this. We used to have it in Canada. Oh, yeah. Just like we used to have an independent judiciary called the Supreme Court of Canada. Didn't last long, sadly. From 1946 to 1952, that disappeared. And the Crown stamp went back on it, and it became a fused judiciary with the executive branch of government, who's also fused with the legislative. So we're screwed. Epic scale corruption. Now, many years ago, in our ancestral heritage, we had what were called grand juries. Well, those got removed because the League of Nations fell. The Crown was subject now to the allies of World War II, USA and Russia, who have those systems, those people's power of real citizens to hold their politicians to account. Yeah, you go to jail for those crimes in USA and Russia. If you don't believe me, minus all the propaganda, at least some things slipped through in Western media. Like right now, there is a defense minister and his subordinates in Russia who are in the box being prosecuted for these very corruptions. Corruption index, they're nailed. And they were nailed by the Russian people. Groups who got together, just like in the United States. It's not a function of the federal government. It's actually a function of the regional government's grand juries. It sits in all the oblasts of Russia. When people get together at the regional level, they can pursue that and bring federal politicians to account and even their regional politicians to account. Absolutely all 50 states in the United States of America give this power to their people forever and a day. It's still here. If you don't believe me, just go look at what's happened with Donald Trump. Now, there may be mischievous givings there, but it only takes 2 Americans to file in the grand jury, provide enough evidence, and they must prosecute. Get enough petition signatures in the area where the crime occurred from the people of the area, real citizens, and the court must prosecute. Yeah. Politicians go down all the time. Their corruption index at the state level is so low. The averages, when you go Canada-wide, when you look at all provinces, it's about 10 times lower. 10 times lower in the United States at the state level than any province or territory in Canada, on average. You don't want to know the numbers. It's about 30 times, 25 to 30 times less than the Canadian federal government levels. Opposition, official opposition, party in power does not matter. Folks, Pierre Poilievre has an education, 4 years Bachelor of Arts, majored in theater. You're telling me that he's the greatest investor, greatest businessman ever recorded in history through politics, right? That's his background. Everything he touches turns to gold. You telling me Justin Trudeau, okay, you got a degree in education with a major in drama. You're the most suave investor of any prime minister ever recorded worldwide. And sadly, it's not the most of Canada. Because Canada, there's even way more corrupt prime ministers who've sat with way higher corruption indexes. Yes, Liberals. Yes, you look at CPC and all of its befores, progressive, conservative, liberal, conservative. Sure, you will find the conservatives with higher corruption indexes. But at 13, almost 14% for Pierre Poilievre's 20 years, folks, that screams corruption. Nobody has hands that touch business and investment for the first startup. Gold every time. Returns of 10, 15% a year. Somewhere on upwards of 2, 3, 400%. You show me any major business in Canada yielding that stuff. It's not in bed with those politicians who are getting yielded tremendous amounts more. And they will have so much waiting for them after their office. You'll watch a giant spike. Every single one. Like, oh really? Within 3 to 6 months, they'll quadruple their net worth after their time in office comes to an end. They have these beautiful positions all over the world or all over in global representation with no background, no experience, no nothing. But why would they be there? With no education, no track record or experience in any of those industries. It's like saying, would you let someone at McDonald's run a major corporation in a specific industry that they've never worked in? The answer is no. But for some reason, every single politician from every party ever invented in Canada that made it to a seat in a house or a legislature ends up that way. And of course, it's corruption, because nobody is the best of the best every time from every party. Like Stephen Guilbeault. Do you think when he got out of prison, he became magically the world's greatest investor you've ever seen? Now he's worth millions upon millions of dollars. Hello, wake up. It's every party, every politician. Pull their years, pull your inflation, your taxation, your debt loading, your services, your fees, your inflation, your cost of living, and at the rate of those things going up against all of you is the rate of their wealth increases. It's inverted. You lose billions while they only make a few million. Think about how sick and savage that really is. Who's the real savage, sadistic SOBs? Male, female, race does not matter. Kick those below you down. Destroy them. That's not a free world, a free market, or any kind of capitalism. That is socialist. That is fascist. And if Canadians can't wake up, I promise you, you will, in the next 10 years, you will see and feel the effects of radical corruption. Because no country's immune to this style. And in this day and age, we're watching it. Massive drop in investment. People are bitching about China to me. Oh, China owns this. USA's pulled out. Any country who doesn't have radical corruption indexes pulls out of countries like this. And they are. And it goes way, way before Justin Trudeau. In fact, you can go all the way to 2008, 2009 as you watch Stephen Harper ramp up. Started out okay, but little by little the engine's running off of the ones before him, doubling down. And it's gotten so out of control, Canadians don't have any idea. Think about that. 26 times Joe Biden, just Stephen Harper. You don't even want to know Justin Trudeau's corruption index to Joe Biden. And Americans are losing it over just a little. They have no idea just how in depth this can go or how bad it can get. Sure, they look at other countries they invested in, they get upset and they get angry and they get military organized to go deal with it. But what would happen to Canada in that scenario? And USA is leaving out the door, folks. They've been leaving since 2008. Doesn't matter who's in power. That corruption index, that way of being doesn't work for those kind of countries, and they're falling off. Doesn't matter our massive resources, USA is looking elsewhere. China will get in where it can, where it feels it can make its money or its critical infrastructure investments for its country. But it's dipping off, guys, and it keeps going. The government says, don't worry, we're going to borrow and print. We're going to radically bring in more colonial ideas, as in massive colonialism today, century initiative, massive corruption, build that pyramid, have a whole new bottom base. We will force this. We will force the wealth exchange. And folks, it is so sick that they would take just millions for themselves and their families at the sheer destruction of mass magnitude against now the more than 40 million Canadians and First Peoples, that they would take from you so much and crush your lives so hard for just a few $1 million. Like, we're talking epic sellout corruption for pennies on literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's their cut. But when you get into the many, many billions, trillion level, at nearly $3 trillion economy for sadly 40 million people, how is this even possible? But it is. They give away so much of you and your children to people who grace them with a few million. Their lives and their children's lives will forever be taken care of, but all of yours will be destroyed. That's sick. It's grievous. And there is a system there. Two countries who border us who clamp down on that stuff. The best example is the United States. And we don't have it, not since 1948. And that all goes into the idea of the United Nations Security Council, the 5 allies, and the Crown itself on the other side of that, forbidden from the UN. No monarch can go to the UN. They may give speeches in the General Assembly if the General Assembly invites, but you will never find a record of a monarch ever in the United Nations Security Council. Forbidden. Any idea of that is banned entirely. Agreed to by UK and France. No, no, no. Anti-ally World War II. Anti-UN Charter. Never again. You're banned. It is the corruption of the General Assembly that brings the monarchs forward. And you could go look at the entirety of Queen Elizabeth. She was graced in the General Assembly only but twice. And you certainly won't find USA, Russia, or any of the Security Council embracing that, because it's a defiance of them. And they'll never bring them in their chamber or their Economic Social Council chamber or the other 4 organs. No monarchs, no monarchies, no divine human beings, no equity of the person, no subjects, savages, peasants, all of it. Not allowed. Yeah. People run the UN down. You don't want to be in the League of Nations, because that's basically what Canada is, as it's designed legally in its constitution under the British Empire. We could end it all tomorrow, just with the start of provincial constitutions, the reinvesting in grand juries, your power. We could do that even in this crummy federal crown system to bring justice against all these lying, cheating, thieving politicians. You could in fact liquidate them. You could pay off so much by liquidating the criminals. That wealthy elite, all under crown. You could, you the people. You could do that. USA did it a very long time ago. Russia, at least as it was the Federation 100 years ago, did that for a brief period. And they're doing it again since 1991. They do it all the time. People say, oh, Vladimir Putin, the dictator. Well, he's getting them, and he responds to his regions. Just like in USA, as a president or that federal party, you better stand for those 50 states. You better show them the respect in their division of powers, or you won't be anymore. And they have ways of teaching you a lesson, as we're seeing. And I mean, I don't support the actions against Trump, all of it, no way. But the power's there. Maybe abused right now, maybe not. I'd have to look in tremendous detail. I know some are. But having that power unto the people is important. Because when you do get a radical tyrant or a major corruption of epic scale, like what we've been going through since 1948, those things needed to be there, and they're not there. Provincial constitutions have been needed forever. Territorial constitutions. We're not going to get them because the provincial crown is as crummy and corrupt as the federal. They love no responsibility, no accountability, and no rules of governance or how to govern. They love that. They make it up as they go. They take as much as they want. They rob, rape, pillage, plunder you, sell you all out as much as they want, and take as much of a kickback as they can get. Very openly. It's very easy to find it. I can find all the payments from countries like China and many more, and many other major global entities. And they pay off our politicians, and they just smile and laugh. CSIS has reported on all of it for many decades. List so long it would roll way past my car out onto the road. But there's no accountability, so what are you going to do about it? So what? Shut up. Pay your higher taxes. And if anyone thinks for a minute, especially conservatives, because that really bugs me these days, especially people who say they're conservative. And I'm like, what is it about you and what you're doing that's conservative? I'd like to know. Or what you're bringing to power here. Please tell me in your words what's conservative about that. Well, it's better than the alternative. 26 times Joe Biden's corruption index. That's the conservatives. Trudeau's is way beyond it. Over 35% Joe Biden's corruption index. Think about that. Think about that. It's sick, it's sad, it's ugly, and people don't want to see it. The years will come, maybe they will. The ability to see it's there. Like, I don't understand how we can have these two major powers on both our borders and we can't figure it out. People can't look at history and say, wonder why the government removed this after World War II. The People's Court against the politicians for corruption. Oh, the police aren't sworn to serve and protect. They're sworn to number one mandate all the crown persons listed in the Constitution only, starting with Prime Minister and then going down the list. That's their mandate. You and I are not on the list. We're not there. None of the First Peoples are on the list. Well, what does that tell you? If that doesn't go, hey, you've got a fundamental problem here in your country, and you're putting blind faith in strangers who tell you what you want to hear, who become tremendously wealthy in a record amount of limited time. Nobody gets that wealthy that quick off such low wages. Like, I would rather have a system where if you keep your corruption index under X amount, here's $1 million after 4 years. Is that fair? Will that keep you from this? Oh, by the way, here's a grand jury too. So if you do step out of line and you try to go sneak behind our backs, you're going to jail, buddy. And the cops are sworn to uphold that law. The prosecutors are sworn to follow that system because it's codified. And there's checks and balances to force that because we actually have an independent judiciary, because our judicial is separate from the executive, not fused. These are tremendously important things that, for the love of God, I don't know why Canadians can't wake up to that. You would never run your business or invest your money in somebody without an agreement in place, some kind of accountability, some system where you can get justice and get your money back. And if not, it becomes fraud. There's a criminal entity there. There's a civil liability where you can go to court and maybe get something back, but at least you know the person's going to be punished. So maybe that's enough for them to be afraid not to do that. Our politicians are not afraid of sweet fuck all. And if people don't get that, I don't know what to tell you. It's been the story of Canada forever and a day, and absolutely enshrined legally after World War II, after my ancestors, yours, gave their lives fighting for never again our freedoms, supposedly. Canada immediately took it away within 3 to 5 years. Oh no! Not our filthy fucking subjects, not our savages. They will get no justice, and that's not what their ancestors died for. They died for everybody else around the world. Not here. This is different. We're in a bubble. We're not going to leave the old world order. We like the corruption. We like slavery and inhumanity. We like it. We like to get rich as we see fit, and fuck all you. If you're stupid enough to believe us, you get what you get and you deserve it. I don't like that system. And I'm not sticking around to continue on, honestly. And if people can't wake up, and they should have, if they were going to, but people say, oh, there's nothing I can do, and you make the best of it, kick around everyone around you. Be proud of who you are by crushing everyone around you. I'm better than everybody. I'm superior. There's a crown waiting for me in my mind. That's called institutionalization. That's a diseased society. I like going through the States. I like the billboards, the messages of hope. I like that when I stop at a gas station, a restaurant, they want to know who you are. Someone opens the door for you. It's crazy. You feel weird at first. You feel weird, but it starts to grow on you, and then you feel comfortable going out, seeing people, not be so anxiety-ridden or apprehensive when you go around and do things around Canada, or dealing with the justice system, like i.e. police. I don't get that fear there. Initially, it was a little troubling, but once I crossed that threshold, it was gone. And then you realize this is an institutionalization, and I don't want it anymore. And if people can't wake up, I don't know what to tell you. This is an epic share video. There's a lot in here for everybody. I have an assignment to finish for Oxford May 31st. I don't know. I'm on shutdown. We'll see how many hours I can put in. I don't know. I got to ask about the requirements, the size of paper. I'd love to do this paper like I did the nature of international law. It's been a lot of years since I've been invited to something like that. And to get that invite again, and I'm doing my international law class. Got to do that again tomorrow, and then I get a 2-week break. But folks, it's I will finish the world before I'm dead. And I mean, I'm going to finish the world in this law class here by December. But, you know, there's places I want to go and things I want to research and do. And I want to do it before I'm an old man. And I'm not going to waste my years in Canada wasting away trying to beat and flog a dead horse. Like, it ain't going. It's a dead horse. Almost, you know, and I don't blame any of my friends and followers. It's literally 95% of Canadians. Some of them call themselves conservatives. Some of them call themselves liberals. Some of them call NDP or anything or whatever suits their fancy at the time that they want to believe in. But that's the problem. Never put your faith in another human being. Never put somebody grandiose to you, especially without any checks and balances, without accountability, without any kind of responsibility, without any rules on how they do things or rules on how those rules are to come about. And those are supposed to be set by us and have a system to do that. And we've never had that. And people just go, well, that's the way it is. I just, shut up. I just pay my taxes and I'll shit on everyone around me. And you can see the miserableness We see it in our jobs, in our careers. We see it in our society. Like I said, all you have to do is go around to any restaurant, fast food, gas station. Service is crap. We all know that. Call your phone company, your utility bills, any government service, anything. You compare something like that to the U.S. and you'll see the vast difference. And I can't ignore stuff like that. And I want that in my life. I don't want this in my life anymore. It's evil. I used to be able to just water on a duck's back, but as you get older, you get less tolerant, especially when you don't see the change, and be the change. So have the courage, which I'm doing, and I'm going to take that leap at this stage of my life. I'm going to do that. And this is my year of transition, and no regrets. You try. If I fail, I fail. If I don't, hey, great. And then we'll see. That's my video. Important, share. Share, share, share. Get it out there. Educate as many as you can. It's your ability to change people. That's how change happens. One small step at a time. I've had massive breakthroughs with USA and Russia. It's incredible. And that's staying the course. Staying at it, stick and stay. And it works. You know, I wish Canada would move faster than it does. It's like barely measurable. But I mean, it's something, but it's too slow. And too much damage is going to occur. Again, share the video. This is credible, real, verifiable, undeniable. It's up to you. God bless. Enjoy the rest of your day.